everybody, Captain Murphy here from PiratesAhoy.net. Today I'm going to cover the updates to the ship entity that has been happening over the last couple of days. And one of the first things that we want to test is to find out whether or not the mass inside the vessel being in one specific spot versus being spread out over the entire hull is going to cause us issues. So far in my testing, I've found that no matter where you place mass in the vessel, it really doesn't seem to matter. Other than changing the trim and that, so it didn't seem to make an effect as far as like waves and that. But one of the things I've done is I've made a couple of changes to the mass objects. So now it allows you to place a group of mass objects, which then divide the weight that you originally had in the vessel. So this allows you to then spread out, like this hull here is 350,000 kilos, I believe. That allows you to spread that 350,000 over a distance rather than as one single object in the center of the vessel. And the hope is that it might make the vessels move better in the water according to the buoyancy. There's going to be some testing to figure that out and hopefully some later updates. One of the things that I have been working on as well is the masts and the yards. Originally, these masts and yards were all completely static objects. You would assign them and then they were just part of the vessel group of objects. So even though they would be independent models, they weren't really anything to do with them. What you've got now is a mast group, and in each group you can have up to 5 yards in that group. With those 5 yards, you can tell a yard offset position. So right now we're going to change the yard offset on this foremast here. So it allows us to then shift that group of yards around. And I'm tying this to an event that's going to let it, it'll find out what the current position of the yard is, what the current rotational is, and then move it to the next ordered rotation, whether that be the yardsmen are moving the yards or there's damage taken, things like that. So that allows each one of these to be independently settable. So that was just, like you say, it's just the first mast is settable. If we want to get as specific as changing each yard independently, we can later on. But as of right now, for the tech demo, this is just about as far as I really think we need to go now. The other thing you can do is on each yard or in each mast group, you can set up a spanker, or you can set up something like this Latine style right here, and it also can be then offset on its rotation. So you can tell it that you want to offset the rotation of just that object. So that way each one is independent. So that, like I say, we're trying to make this as dynamic as possible for scripting to work with. And of course each one of these objects that's been added is actually a physicalized object. So you can see here that everything that's that gray outline means that it has a physical proxy to it, so it can be damaged and it can receive damage. And so that way when your vessel is getting hit by cannonballs, that it actually is taking damage everywhere it's going to get a hit. Now the last thing that I've been working with Dory on is these little guys right here. And these are the lids for the gun ports. Each one of these has to be hand done by the modeler because every one of them is slightly different. The curvature is different, the rotation point is different, and it kind of created a dilemma for us on the coding side because if everything is independent, that'd be a real pain to set up. Well, it turns out they can create the animation on their side, and all we have to do is call it. So it made our job a lot easier in that all I had to do is create a gun port open and close event tied to the vessel, and then I created a gun ports group, which then just loops through every single one of those gun ports and then opens and or closes them based on whether or not they're open or closed at the time. So right now we've got, when the vessel loads, it loads all the gun ports in the closed position. So that way whenever the vessel immediately loads, the gun ports start closed. And this is if they have them. If they don't have gun ports, then they don't open or close. But when they're in the closed position, you can run the event for the gun port open. And what Wadori had done is added in a slight difference in the opening speed. Well, I've gone a little bit further, and I've actually added a randomization to the speed of the animation. So every time you open and close these gun ports, they're going to be a little bit different every single time. So it's not going to be the same animation, they're not going to be the same speeds. Like you see these here, every time I do this, they're slightly different. Sometimes they're fast, sometimes they're slow. But again, this is to make it so that we've got, you know, the ultimate randomization. We're not looking at the same static animations every single time. So this is what we're up to right now. The ships are coming together. Midori's only got a model, you know, I don't know, like 20, 30 more of those gun ports, and he'll be done. And then we can move on to the next model, right? Anyway, so this is what we went up to. Hopefully we'll have these objects doing a little more movement, a little shake, rattle, and roll going on. And I've got some changes coming for damage models and how it does flooding. So we're starting to work on the point of having the vessels flood. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and visit piratesahoy.net to volunteer your time. Thanks.